Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Neptune's Child Tarot. Thank you all so much for being here and your continued love and support here on the channel. So today's pick a card reading, we are doing what is your biggest fear or limiting belief right now? Okay, what is your biggest fear or limiting belief right now? And then we're going to kind of go in and ask Spirit, how is it that you can overcome whatever that might be. And I feel like the first step is in having more self-awareness of what that fear is or what that limiting belief is. So having self-awareness, being more mindful that whatever the fear is or the limiting belief is could be affecting our thoughts, could be affecting our choices and how we feel. That could certainly limit our potential. Okay, so we'll ask Spirit for some tips on how you can overcome or at least identify and see that within yourself so that you could be mindful and choose to think differently, choose to have a different perspective, or even opening up your perspective a little bit more to looking at that fear or facing that fear head on. And then, finding within you the strength, the willpower, the courage, the bravery to overcome it. Okay, so what is your biggest fear or limiting belief right now? We do have 3 crystals out here for you to choose from. If by chance you do feel drawn to more than one of the groups that are coming through today, go with whatever your intuition is leading you towards. Sometimes I know some of you like to listen to all 3 groups and see which one resonates with the most. I do appreciate those of you that do that because it definitely helps with the view time. Or for those of you that do feel drawn to just one of them, maybe 2 of them, again, go with whatever your intuition is telling you, okay? So we do have Amethyst for group 1, we have this cream crystal for group 2, and then for group 3, we do have Opalite. Okay, timestamps are down below if you already feel drawn to one of the crystals, but I am going to be adding in one of these cards, and this is the Earth and Bone Oracle that we're going to be using. And I do have my Amazon wish list that is up for those of you that were wanting the new one. The new one is available now, and you can find it in the description box for those of you that wanted to donate a tarot or an oracle deck for me to use for our future readings. So group number 1 with the Amethyst. What is your biggest fear or limiting belief right now? Biggest fear or limiting belief for group 1. Group 2 with the cream crystal. Biggest fear or limiting belief, group 2. Group 3 with the Opalite. All right, so let's see what we've got. All right, so group number 1, we have card number 2, Sage, and it says harmony, acceptance, and patience. And that is with the Amethyst. Okay, so group 2, we have card number 31, Conjurer, and it says higher self, fertility, and creativity. And that is with this cream crystal. Group number 3, we have card number 10, Roots, Ancestry, Legacy, and Tradition. And that is with the Opalite. All right, so those are the choices for today. What is your biggest fear or limiting belief right now? Pause the video if you need a little bit more time to meditate on the cards, crystals, artwork, numbers 1, 2, 3, and I will see you all at your reading. Hi, group 1. So those of you that resonated with card number 2, Sage, with the Amethyst, we have harmony, acceptance, and also patience. So we're asking, what is your biggest fear or limiting belief right now? So let's get some more information. All right, group 1, what is your biggest fear or limiting belief right now? We've got the 5 of Wands in reverse. Seven of Swords. A star. Okay. Six of Pentacles in reverse. Seven of Wands. Page of Swords. What is your biggest fear or limiting belief right now? The Moon. Five of Cups and the Lovers. And the Justice card. Okay. This feels like those of you that are going to be resonating with this group. Yeah, I was just going to say, there's the Tower. Have gone through some very challenging experiences in your life. And a lot of these experiences have been around deception, betrayal, especially as it relates to romantic relationships for some of you. There could have been a lot of lessons surrounding, some of you might be overgivers, and I definitely feel like there was a need for better boundary setting, learning to really stand up for yourself, stick up for yourself, and set healthy boundaries with people. A lot of the experiences that you have gone through have led to a lot of pain, a lot of discouragement, disappointment, some of you even dealing with depression, trust issues, insecurities, doubting yourself. You might even find yourself in situations surrounded by people who are manipulative, who are deceptive in nature, even jealousy, competition. So it feels like a lot, okay, that you've had to deal with. And so I feel like a lot of this centers around fears that it's always going to be that way, and that you're never going to find relationships, okay, of all kinds, whether they're friends, co-workers, with family members, with romantic partners, of ones that actually treat you fairly and where honesty and integrity within people that match your energy. You know, I feel like you've probably have lost a lot of people in your life that you thought were a good friend or you thought were like a good romantic partner, but finding yourself where you may have been giving so much of yourself into situations that were not giving back to you. And these things end up falling apart or creating very unstable energies that you've had to deal with, challenging energies that you've had to overcome. I've got the Magician and the Page of Cups. Okay, so there's a few things that I want to look at here. I feel like I want to clarify this moon first off. I feel like these situations have created some of you self-esteem issues, issues with your level of confidence. And, you know, when we go through things like this with other people especially, it can start to chip away at how we feel about ourselves. And it can cause us to have low self-esteem, lack of confidence in ourselves, insecurities, and it may even bring us into a place where we start to doubt ourselves. We start to feel insecure. We start to end up having self-sabotaging behavior. Okay? We might even have a tendency to compare ourselves to other people. Let's see. Why is the moon here? 10 of Wands. 8 of Cups. I'm going to take that in reverse. And I feel that many of you have gone through a lot of injustice. A lot of injustice with people who weren't treating you the way that they should have treated you. And it may certainly be a limiting, like it definitely goes into trust issues, okay? About it happening again, about being betrayed again, about being manipulated, about being lied to. Let's look at this Justice card here. You know, so it could even put us in a place where we end up believing, because of the experiences that we've had, that healthy, stable, balanced relationships, partnerships, friendships don't exist. It may cause us to lose hope, lose faith, lack trust, believing in others, believing in ourselves and our ability to manifest these types of connections into our life, and that healing is possible. That there are good people out there. You know, some of you may have feel like the types of people that you've had to interact with have not been the greatest, you know, and so when we're experiencing that time and time again, you know, we can start to really be affected by that psychologically. Why is the Justice card here? Page of Wands. So if we have situations, right, where trust has been broken, whether it is by a romantic partner, a friend, a family member, a coworker, a boss, and we're believing that things are fair and balanced and then finding out that they're not, right? We can't even trust our own reality. Because it feels like when that person lies to us, right, and we find out, it distorts the reality that we believed, right? Then it's like, okay, was any of this real? Did any of this ever really exist? Like, let's just use the example of a romantic partnership. And we find out that the romantic partner is being deceptive or is lying or is being manipulative. And what does that do to us psychologically to think, okay, well, then what was all of this, right? Where we can't even trust another person, how can we even trust ourselves anymore, right? It starts to chip away at how we feel and think and do and act for ourselves. Let's see. Because until we're being made aware of the deception, we think that's our reality. And then when we find out it was not true, right? And we thought the whole time it was true, it was accurate, it was, something else entirely. And then we go back once the lie has been exposed, once the deception has been revealed to us. Like I said, it kind of makes us question our reality. Was any of this real? So if we can't even trust our own intuition, right? What is that doing to us in a way where we have to kind of make choices for ourselves that don't even involve other people? So, like I said, I kind of feel like what's happening here, and, interesting that you have the sage, because the sage is about wisdom. In addition to what this card is talking about, harmony, acceptance, patience. And Eight of Swords here at the bottom. The Eight of Swords is negative thinking, self-limiting beliefs. The experiences that we have with other people can, like I said, certainly shape the way that we feel about ourselves. It can create a lot of insecurities within us. And if we lack confidence or if we feel insecure, it can make it hard for us to focus. We might procrastinate because we don't believe in ourselves anymore. Because we're too afraid of doing things, pursuing passions, dreams, goals, desires. We might run away from them instead of being able to, go after things that we want. And I want to see what's underneath this Eight of Swords, the Fool. Yeah, so it can lead to a lot of fears, most certainly. A lot of fears here with trust, okay, is a big one. Trust. Can't trust others, can't trust the self. Of course, there are situations in our past that we cannot change. We cannot change what has happened, what we've gone through. But we can certainly not allow our past to dictate what we do moving forward. Okay? Because the Eight of Swords is all the negative thinking. It's all the what if this, what if that, what if I can't do this, can't do that. And it, like I said, it kind of feels that the situations that you've gone through in your life that have to do with other people have affected your self-esteem, your confidence in yourself. So I'm going to actually save this Eight of Swords here. And I want to clarify that a little bit more. It almost kind of feels like we get used to things not working out, things falling apart, you know, and this could even lead into a fear of failure that we might have, where we don't believe in ourselves. We're not confident enough in ourselves. We don't feel secure enough within the self. You know, the Nine of Pentacles has to do with having a strong sense of identity and feeling secure, confident, knowing who we are as a person. And I feel like being able to go back to, in some regard, this version of yourself before all of this stuff happened. Only you're not really going backwards. You're not going back to the past version of you, but more or less to the version of yourself. I mean, it's going to be a new version of you here and now, but without all of the insecurities, without the limiting beliefs, before the trauma, before the experiences that have led you to that place of not trusting yourself, feeling insecure, feeling a lack of confidence in yourself, and really being in your power. This is you reclaiming your power, finding your inner light, and having an understanding that things are not always going to be the way that they have been for you in the past. Okay. I feel like a lot of this has to do with you believing in yourself, restoring faith, restoring trust, restoring hope that your healing is possible, that your confidence can be restored, that your trust in yourself and faith in yourself can be restored. Some of you, this is something that's even rooted in your childhood. It may even be something that affects you now in the form of anxiety, overthinking, worrying, stressing, overanalyzing. Especially in terms of security. And especially it could affect those of you even with money, with relationships, security. So let's look at this Queen of Wands a little bit. Six of Wands, Four of Swords, and the Four of Cups. I mean, this could even be something so much that makes you miss out on opportunities. Be afraid of stepping outside of your comfort zone. I do feel like it is tied into failure. Because with the moon energy present, the moon is about confusion, illusion, deception. It has a lot to do with a lot of suppressed feelings and emotions that we have. It can create doubt, uncertainty, because a lot of that has to do with our intuition and, you know, believing in yourself, having faith. So I want to ask Spirit here, how can you overcome, and let's pull some oracle here. How can you overcome these fears, limiting beliefs, insecurities? I feel like a lot of them affect, with the experience that you've had, a lot of them have affected the self. Okay, the way that you think and feel about the self. How can you overcome these fears and limiting beliefs? Opportunity, distraction, and wisdom. And we have fragile. I am seeing purification here at the bottom. So this, we can certainly look at that as you purifying, clearing your energy, purifying your thoughts, which means we're being more mindful, we're being more self-aware. It may even be about releasing a lot of the energy that we're holding on to through letting it out, whether it is anger or sadness. It's a way of us getting that energy to move and be released from the body. We can also, do things to clear the auric field. Some people might use sound, like going to a sound bath. Some people might use smoke for purification, sage, Palo Santo, other types of smoke clearings. But I want to look a little bit more here. What is this opportunity? The devil. And the fool. So the devil being the fear. You see how in this card here, how she's kind of chained and she's down here on her knees to the devil. And let's just say the devil symbolizes what your fear is, or your own thoughts manipulating you, controlling you, having a power over you. Okay. The fool is fearless. So it's kind of like when we have these opportunities for something, right? Something new, a new beginning, whatever it might be, that we're needing to really channel into the Fool energy, which is about opening ourselves up to new experiences, stepping outside of our comfort zone. So it's almost like looking at that fear right in the face and doing what we want to do anyway. Now that is pretty bold, right? It's pretty bold because even facing that fear could be very scary. I've had those situations where in my own life multiple times where I was so scared of doing something. And the whole process of me being scared, I was crying, I was shaking. But I did it anyway. And that was the scariest part, is like taking that first step to just do it. I think I saw somebody post something about that the other day too. I think they said, feel the fear and do it anyway. I saw that comment. Somebody left a comment on one of the, it might have been for this channel, on one of the videos I think that I posted last week. Feel the fear and do it anyway. We've got distraction here with the King of Cups. Four of Pentacles, stable, secure. King of Cups has to do with our emotions. Sometimes our emotions about something can overwhelm us, and it can distract us away from what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve. So this might be a time for grounding, okay, to overcome, to make sure you're calm, to make sure you're grounded. And sometimes, of course, there could be certain things that are going on in our life that kind of put us through a roller coaster of emotions, right? So that to overcome this, it could be grounding, taking some deep breaths, getting the emotions under control, getting the mind under control. That'll help to maybe distract us away from what that fear might be, or that negative thinking. What is the wisdom here? Queen of Swords, okay? Now, Queen of Swords is about truth. It's about clarity, facts, reality, right? Most of the time when we have a fear or a self-limiting belief, the self-limiting beliefs come from, experiences that we've had in the past, and then it kind of shapes the way that we think, right? And can affect future decisions that we make. But when it comes to fears, right? Fears are often because we don't have enough information, and our mind is just kind of, going over all these scenarios about maybe it could be this, or what if that, or what if this. And most of the time we're the mind is going in places and worrying about things that haven't happened yet, taking things to the worst possible scenario. And I feel that you have to ask yourself, is what I'm feeling right now, especially when it comes to a fear, is it real? Is it that there is a genuine concern for something? And what I mean by that is, let's just say that, I don't know, it makes me think, okay, let's just say we're at a cabin in the woods, okay? And you have one experience one time where you go to that cabin door and you open it and there's a bear there, okay? That is scary, right? You see the bear, it's up on its hind legs and you're afraid. Now you're afraid, you close the cabin door and you're just like, okay, hopefully that bear goes away. But then the irrational fear comes in of every time you go to that door that bear is going to be there, right? So we have to ask ourselves, when it comes to the fear, is it real, or is it just that my mind is taking something, right, from the past, or something that the unhealthy mind is like taking an idea and just twisting it all around, where it's something that we can understand is irrational. Okay. Why is fragile here? The sun. Confidence. The sun has to do with the solar plexus. Some of you are needing to work on your solar plexus energy, your I am presence, your I am confident, I am powerful, I'm amazing. The sun is our life force energy. Okay. This is Leo energy. It's your confidence. Some of you might have a fragile sense of self that may have been affected by situations, experiences that you've gone through. So this is learning to be more confident in yourself. And that does include working on that self-esteem, identifying maybe what types of past situations have affected your sense of self. Sometimes it's other people, right, who say things, who do things that kind of chip away at that. Okay? People who project certain things onto us, or people who are jealous or insecure. So you want to kind of dig a little deeper into that. Okay? What is this with purification? Three of Pentacles in reverse. I would also look, what Spirit's saying here is, take a look at the people that you surround yourself with, okay? Especially friends, coworkers. What is your environment like? Is it an environment that is supportive? Or are the people around you people who talk behind your back, people who spread gossip, people who are not really your friend? Okay? You might need to purify your friend group. Start cutting people out that don't inspire you, that don't uplift you, that don't celebrate you, that don't acknowledge you, that don't recognize you, that don't see you. Is the work environment that you're in not very supportive? Is your boss someone who doesn't see you? Partners. Who are we interacting with? Who are we giving our time and energy to? Are there people that are cheering right along with you at your successes? Or are they people who are jealous and projecting their insecurities onto you? People who are manipulative, people who lie, people who, just have a very shady way of being around you. That, of course, can take a toll on us, right? And start to make us feel less than about ourselves. So this is a time, especially with justice being here in relationships. Justice is about harmony, balance, integrity, honesty, being treated fairly. Do your people treat you fairly? Do you treat yourself fairly? Okay. All right. So that is all that I have for you. Group number 1, I do hope this reading was helpful for you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Hi, group 2. So those of you that resonated with the card number 31, the Conjurer, it says higher self, fertility, and creativity. This is going to be a reading today. And so we're asking Spirit, what is your biggest fear or limiting belief right now? Group 2. And then we're going to get some messages on how you can work on overcoming whatever that might be. I feel like the first step for either of those is the self-awareness. Okay. Because that's how we can change. If we're not aware of it, if we don't see it, then we can't change it. So let's see. Group number 2, what is your biggest fear or limiting belief right now? What is your biggest fear or limiting belief right now? We have the Chariot, the 3 of Wands, Queen of Cups, King of Swords. What is your biggest fear or limiting belief? We have the 6 of Wands, the Magician, Knight of Wands, this feels like this has a lot to do, group 2, with your future, with bringing your vision of success into reality. It's almost could be like believing that it's not possible, that you can't do it, that you can't. It's kind of like having the idea and the vision for something, but then the whole process of actually bringing it to life, taking the actions that are going to lead you closer to bringing that dream into manifestation. Trusting your intuition and moving forward with it, taking action, taking inspired action. Hierophant, the Lovers. Ace of Pentacles. Yeah, it's making decision, getting started. So it's kind of like you can see it, you can visualize it, but then there's that need for following through, focusing and taking action. We've got the Knight of Swords at the bottom, followed by the Empress and the Sun. 9 of Pentacles. 8 of Wands. And I love the way that this 8 of Wands is depicted, because 8 of Wands is about putting energy in motion. It's also about very fast moving energy. messages, communication. And look at the way in here, it looks like a bunch of shooting stars. And she's kind of looking out into the distance. It's sending out all of that energy, all of that intention, all of that focused energy, you know. And your card here is the Conjurer, right? We've got the Magician here. So it's kind of like you bringing forth these energies, working with these energies, and fertility, creativity. We've got the Empress here, which is about creating something, birthing something. So it almost kind of feels that with the biggest fear or limiting belief right now is that maybe that you feel like you can't achieve your dream, that you can't have success or abundance. It's the whole, like, putting things in motion. The fire, the passion behind it, the inspired action, the focus, the discipline, the organization, getting started. So it could certainly be, especially with us starting with the Chariot here, about building that momentum, all this energy that's building up inside of you. And I love this card here, the Three of Wands, because it almost looks like there's this smoke in a way that's kind of coming out of her little bowl, and there's this animal that's like in the smoke. So I almost look at that as her foresight there, her dream, that she can see it, right? And the Three of Wands is when we kind of take that first step. We set things in motion. And, you know, certainly there's messages that you receive intuitively, downloads from your higher self. The Magician is about co-creating with the divine. It is about your willpower, your focused intention, your manifestation, your ability to focus your energy. This isn't a traditional tarot deck, but for those of you that are familiar, you know the Magician has one hand with its wand pointing up towards the sky. That's the whole as above. And then the other hand is pointed down towards the earth, which is so below. We're basically using our body as a conduit to receive source energy and using that energy to, you know, take the potential of something and bring it to life. You know, you have the King of Pentacles here. The King of Pentacles has to do with the earth realm, material world. Okay, you have the Hierophant here. The Hierophant is about our beliefs. So I do want to look at that a little bit more. The Lovers is about making a choice, the decision of the heart. So your heart could be leading you towards certain things. But we're needing the follow through. I am seeing the Four of Pentacles here at the bottom. Now, Four of Pentacles energy can sometimes be when we are in the comfort zone. We're afraid of change. We're afraid of that whole movement and moving forward with something. Maybe it's with an idea, with a plan. Why is the Hierophant here? The Fool. Look at that. The Devil. The World. Okay, so the Devil is fear. The Devil is, you know, the fear being something that is overpowering us. It's the ego, the unhealthy aspect of the ego. I'm going to look at this a little bit more. The Fool is fearless. Okay, it's about taking a leap of faith, trusting, believing in the self, which the Magician energy also requires us to believe. Okay, to be confident in our power and the ability that we have to create, to manifest, to bring something forth, to conjure. Why is the Devil here? Four of Cups. So this fear could be something that makes you miss out on opportunities, push opportunity away. The Strength card. And then we've got the Ten of Cups. There went the Sedona Fire Department. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So the Strength card is about us having self-control. Look at how she's looking at the beast here. Right? And that beast there could be symbolic of that fear. She's looking right at the beast. She's right in its face. Okay? This is about us being able to overcome those fears that we're bound to, that limit us, that restrict us, that hold us back, that make us miss out on those opportunities that are there. All these amazing ideas that we have, right? Maybe it leads us to procrastinating, to hesitating. It might keep us from doing things that make us happy, that bring us fulfillment. Again, it kind of feels like you can visualize it. You can see it. You can imagine it, fantasize about it. But then there's no follow through. Okay? The Eight of Pentacles is about hard work, effort, commitment, consistency to achieve what we want to, right? We plant the seed. We've got the Page of Pentacles over here. The Ace of Pentacles is potential, right? For something. We plant the seed. It requires nurturing in order for it to fully manifest, especially into that King of Pentacles energy. This requires us to give our time, our effort, our energy to be consistent so that we can see the results. We can see the results. We can, you know, the Nine of Pentacles is also here, which is where we are enjoying the fruits of our labor in the Nine of Pentacles energy. We've been able to complete the goal. Requires effort. The Chariot is about willpower, focus, determination, building momentum. We take that first step and we keep going, going, going. Don't give up. Even during those times when we're not seeing results fast enough, we feel like giving up, and your soul is telling you, don't quit. Don't quit. Sometimes, and I like to use this example as well, because when I first started YouTube, you know, I wasn't doing readings at all. I was doing walkthroughs of deck reviews, reviewing oracle decks, tarot decks, and just showing like the artwork and what I thought about it and that kind of stuff. I didn't start doing readings until months later. But I remember that when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to read tarot very well when I first started. I was still using my guidebook. I didn't know all the meanings of the cards. And then as time went on, I started to get a little better. And I really committed myself to it. Okay, I really dedicated my time and energy. And I was working full time at that time. And I was also doing YouTube. And I remember that there was a lot of other people that I had met early on in my tarot YouTube journey that also started their channels right around the same time that I did. And when I would post videos, a lot of people there wasn't a lot of views on them. It was under maybe like 30 views. Sometimes I would post and there would be like 12 or 4. And it was really discouraging because I spent back then, I would spend more time recording. That was before I was doing private readings. So I had lots of time to just kind of sit during my off hours to sit and record videos that were like 2.5, 3 hours long, 4 hours long for readings. Now I have private readings and I don't have a whole lot of that time. But I remember that the other tarot friends that I had, where they started their channels around the same time that I did, and that growth wasn't there. You know, even for me, my channel was not any place taking off. I would spend hours recording videos and there was barely any views. And there were those days that I was crying and I was like, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this anymore. I feel like I'm wasting my time. And then something inside me just said, don't quit. Don't stop. And I saw a lot of people that started their channels at the same time as me that just gave up. And they deleted their channels and decided, oh, you know, I couldn't do it. Or, you know, there was other things that they said, you know. But it was, you know, I remember feeling really discouraged because I put so much work in and I wasn't seeing the results. I was like, this is not even worth my time. Why am I doing this? People aren't watching this. Maybe I'm really bad. Maybe I'm really bad at reading, you know? And so sometimes when we have, you know, things that we want to do and we might start the first part, we might feel so excited. And I've had those experiences too, where you think you feel all gung-ho about something and yes, I'm going to do this. I feel this is so exciting. I start it and then you start to pull away. You don't put in the effort and you're not seeing the results. Right? And so this 8 of Pentacles is about really committing yourself to the time, the effort, the energy, and just go, go, go. And of course, along the way, we can find ways of being more productive or changing things up a little bit so that we're working a lot smarter versus harder. And so for some of you, it could be where you lack the commitment, you know, the follow through. We might have all the energy at the beginning. That's like if you have a garden, right? And you plant all these seeds in the garden and you're like, oh boy, I can't wait. I'm going to have the most delicious salad. I've got carrots in there. I've got lettuce. I've got cabbage. I've got radishes. And then you water it for the first 2 days and you're like, okay, nothing's happening. And then you skip a day. You skip a second day. And your garden is not flourishing. Right? Nothing's happening. We're not going to have a delicious salad to eat. So this is where, for some of you, you might have even all that energy up at the beginning and then lack the commitment to follow through with it, to stay consistent, you know? And then by that time, it's like, you know, we can't even trust ourselves. We're making promises that I'm going to commit myself to this, I'm going to do this, and then we don't do it. We fall off the wagon, you know? So let's ask Spirit here how you can overcome your fears and limiting beliefs. We have meander, mourning, and determination. Some of you might really need to like dial it in and get focused. Because if we have a goal, if your energy's scattered and you're focusing sometimes on too many different things, sometimes we're not giving it the energy that it needs. You know, we can't water that garden some of the time and expect that it's going to be an amazing garden. We have to take care of it, right? So the whole meandering, like, are you like, ooh, let me do this? No, no, no. Oh, let me do this over here. Wait a minute. Here's a great idea. Let me go start this one. Right? So the Magician is about focus. Chariot, focus. We get in that chariot, eye on the prize, forward we go towards the goal, towards the dream. We're building the momentum. We're getting closer and closer and closer to that goal. What is the warning here? And whenever I think about the chariot energy, I want you guys to really envision yourself in your chariot. Get inside of it. Hold those reins and imagine that you have those horses that are pulling you forward. What does that feel like? What are the feelings when you imagine that happening to you? What do you feel in your body? Okay, every time I talk about that, I always get the spirit chills, like from head to toe, because I'm imagining myself in that chariot, holding those reins with those powerful horses that are pulling that chariot forward. That is the energy that we need. There is no stopping you. Once you get going and once you start going there, there's no like, oh, hold on, let me get out. No, you keep going. 10 of Pentacles. 5 of Swords. 9 of Wands. Some of you, this might be a lot of self-sabotaging thoughts or behaviors. And the way that I'm looking at this 9 of Wands, imagine that this is your spirit guide, okay, behind you. Look at how he's trying to get her to see something, the vision. Look at all that fire above her crown chakra. He's trying to get her, let's just say, to see what he sees, what she's capable of, what her power is, to see that power within herself. There's her third eye, right? The vision. So being mindful, right, of that 5 of Swords, which is feeling defeated, because sometimes, yes, we start something and then we stop and then we give up and we're just like, forget it. Get back in that chariot and give those horses a shake with those reins and get that chariot going again. Get back in the chariot. Right? I'm sure many of you have heard a lot of stories, especially with the amount of creators that are on YouTube as well, that have tried to start businesses and that have failed, and then just open another business and that one failed and open another one, and just keep going, keep going. Don't let those past failures, past disappointments be something that stop you from your vision. Sometimes it's about, changing things up a little bit, adjusting where we need to see, right, the success and reap the reward. The 9 of Wands is about resilience. It's also when we're tired. Sometimes, the amount of effort that we put into something can make us feel stressed out. It can make us feel overwhelmed. The 10 of Pentacles is what we experience as over the long term. 10 of Pentacles is about building long-term wealth, security, stability, a legacy. That is the type of wealth and security that we have, that we get over the course of our lifetime, from making very careful decisions, from consistency, from effort. We can't put in half the work and expect that we're going to have these amazing results. Okay? So if you're tired, take a break. Sometimes in the Nine of Wands, we could be nearing burnout, where we need to kind of just take a little bit of a break and go back into it when we feel a little bit better rested. Okay? This is Spirit wanting you to channel into that determination, long-term goal. Take steps to take yourself there. Make sure that every step that you take moving forward is one that is leading you closer to your goal. Write it down. Write down the steps that you know that you have to take in order to get there, and follow that plan. Okay? All right, so I'm going to leave this here for you, group number 2. I do hope this reading was helpful for you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Hi, group 3. So those of you that resonate with card number 10, Roots, and it says Ancestry, Legacy, and Tradition with your Opalite. Let's get into your reading. We're going to ask, what is your biggest fear or limiting belief right now? And then getting some advice from Spirit on how to overcome whatever this is. However, I did tell group 1 and group 2 that I feel like our first step with the biggest fear and limiting belief is the awareness. Okay? Having self-awareness of what that fear is, and maybe even doing a little bit of investigating to see, where is that coming from? You know, when did I start feeling this way all of a sudden, or why? Was it a past experience? Was it something that someone said to me, or an experience that I've had that I haven't healed from that's causing me to have this fear or to think this way? Okay. Group number 3, what is your biggest fear or limiting belief right now? We have Temperance. Nine of Swords. Five of Swords. 10 of Wands. Seven of Pentacles. The Strength card. Two of Pentacles in reverse. Six of Wands. Knight of Wands. Biggest fear or limiting belief right now. Knight of Cups and the Fool. Knight of Pentacles in reverse, and then we have the Ace of Wands. Queen of Pentacles at the bottom with the Emperor. Page of Wands. 10 of Swords. 3 of Swords. Ace of Cups. Okay. I feel like this has a lot to do, and of course this message isn't going to resonate for all of you, but I feel like this is very specific to those of you that may not have had the best experiences in love. Okay? And I almost kind of feel like there's a fear here, and I do apologize if I get a little emotional during this because I am going through my own situation, as you guys are aware of, and some of this message might be something, you know, that Spirit is kind of wanting me to see too, and it happens because I am part of the collective. But it feels that for some of you, this is something that has been happening within your family line, and some of you may have been experiencing situations and connections within your love life that may not have been the greatest. And this could be where the partners that you may have chosen in the past may have mishandled the connections, and there may be a lot of very difficult energies that you have had to heal from, or some very difficult situations. And I feel like these were situations that you may have invested a lot of time and a lot of care and a lot of nurturing into, you know, trying to have relationships that were loving and balanced, where people were able to recognize you and see you and the love that you had to bring and offer. And I feel that a lot of the people that you may have had to deal with may not have been the greatest. And you may have had to deal with a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of things not turning out the way in which you expected them to. And a lot of that may have felt very ungrounded, very unbalanced. Some of you may have been dealing with people that were not only inconsistent, but maybe have come in and out of your life. People that were hot and cold, people who didn't choose you, people who didn't see you, people who didn't acknowledge a lot of what you were bringing to the table. And I feel that you're the type of person, group 3, that kind of gives everyone the benefit of the doubt. And I feel like there is, for many of you, a lot of mistreatment that you may have had to endure. And of course, many of you are going to be on, you know, some very different timelines with where you're at with this situation. Some of you, you know, may have come from an upbringing that was very toxic or chaotic or negative. Like I said, may have been mistreated in certain ways. May have found yourself in toxic relationships with toxic people. People who asserted a certain power over you, who may have been controlling or manipulative. Or who just kind of revealed an aspect of themselves that you may not have seen, you may not have had an awareness of. I feel that you're the type of person who, when you love very deeply. And you really let yourself, you really put your heart out there and give your all into these types of situations. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be, you know, all romantic. You might be the type of person who gives everything in terms of friendships. And it kind of feels like, in a way, that with the situations that you give yourself to, that energy has not been reciprocated back. So it's almost like that feeling of like, I have all this love and no safe place to put it in or to give it to. And many of you might be in situations where, you know, you're really looking to build with someone and to find your forever partner and to have someone treat you with love and respect and, you know, something that is a lot more balanced. And I feel that maybe for some of you, one of the biggest fears that you might have is that it doesn't exist. That you're never going to find someone. That having a secure, loving partner is just something that either you're never going to find. It might even be having those feelings of like, I'm going to be single forever. Some of you might be wanting to have children or wanting to have family, wanting to establish, you know, and build with someone. So it kind of feels like having that fear of like, am I just not meant to receive that in this lifetime? Am I just not meant to have it? Am I never going to have the security and the stability and loyalty even from someone who chooses me, someone who values me, someone who loves me, someone who gives love in the way that you give love, who reciprocates that. And so I feel like, you know, some of you might continue to try to stay optimistic and say, okay, here I go again. I'm going to try and put myself out there and, you know, go down this path and explore what's available here. And then, you know, there might be for some of you a self-worth issue that you're wanting to look at or to heal, or even to an energy surrounding receiving, because some of you might be overgivers. I'm an overgiver. Okay, I am. Sometimes I've had issues in the past where I've given people too much, you know, and try to be better about that, more mindful, and keep myself more grounded, to observe myself, because in the way that I have done that in the past, I did give way too much of myself, my time, my love, my energy. And it has been, you know, something that I personally have been working on since my spiritual awakening in 2019, where I would recognize when something wasn't being reciprocated and to have better boundaries to say, okay, I'm not going to give any more of my energy to this, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, to kind of create a little bit more balance until I can see that there is that reciprocity that is there, you know? And that takes practice. It takes skill. It takes us looking at ourselves, you know? And so it kind of feels that some of you might have issues surrounding letting yourself receive, where you're not always the one who's just giving and giving and giving and giving. You know, some of you could be healing, doing a lot of healing within your ancestral line, within your family line. And I'm getting that many of you that chose this, you are the one in your family who is breaking cycles. Okay? A lot of generational cycles here. There's a lot of deep, deep healing that you are doing for your ancestral line, you know, with those that have come before you, your ancestors. And a lot of the things that you may have had to endure in this lifetime may have been really challenging from what I'm seeing. And so it can be, we have to remember too, when we're healing and clearing these ancestral, you know, blockages and stuff like that within our family line, our ancestors' blood runs through our veins, you know? And so there's a lot of things that even we can be feeling or experiencing that's helping to clear those cycles and experiences we might have that mirror a lot of the past experiences that our ancestors have had, you know? And in a way, it's kind of like you're the soul. You're the soul who your ancestors have chosen in this lifetime to be strong enough to heal this, to face this, to overcome this. And it can be very easy with the experiences that we've had that have been particularly challenging to feel so defeated and to start thinking negative, like, is this love that I envision even possible? Does it even exist? Is it even out there? And that can certainly make us lose faith, lose hope that healthy, balanced, beautiful, unconditional love even exists. And so going through these experiences may have definitely set you on a path to direct your attention inwards towards finding and connecting to love within inside of yourself, teaching you a lot about self-love and allowing yourself to receive versus you always being the one who just gives and gives. Let yourself receive, you know? So yeah, what I'm getting is that the fear that you have is that you're not going to find it, that it doesn't exist, that you're not going to have the stability in your life or the partner that you envision that is going to build with you. Just thinking that it's just not going to happen, you know, and that could be that voice that's in the back of our mind that just kind of says to us, it's not going to happen. You know, where maybe, like I said, maybe a lot of the experiences that you've had have led you in some situations that could create a lot of anxiety. And I'm seeing the Nine of Swords is here, right? The Nine of Swords is a lot of overthinking, overanalyzing, getting worried, feeling stressed out. So what I want to do is I want to ask Spirit here what you can do to overcome, because this, you know, like I said, we don't just have to take it in the romantic context. You can also think about when, you know, it comes to your friends, family members. What can you do to overcome these fears and limiting beliefs? Okay, so we do have purification here. Attention. Retreat. And intuition. Okay, so we have balance here at the bottom, which is basically balancing your energy, healing your energy. Temperance is here, which is about healing. It's about being patient with yourself, especially because sometimes there are certain things that linger a little bit longer that we have to work through healing. Temperance is about alchemizing energy, transforming it from one form of energy into another, and that process takes time. It requires us to be patient. We can't just snap our fingers and expect that we're going to be all healed overnight. It takes us paying attention to, especially the body, right? Where is the state of the mind? If we're in negative thinking, If we've got trust issues, if the Nine of Swords is a lot of worrying, stressing, anxiety, right? What is the state of your mind? What is the state of your emotions? Because these are giving you clues to your body telling you, hey, I'm not okay. Something's going on here. And the purification we can do in different ways. If we're feeling anxious about something, talking to someone about the fears that we have or the anxiety that we're feeling. If we're dealing with depression, talking about it, right? Having someone to talk to. We want to be able to purify our energy by being able to release that energy from the body. We can also change who we interact with, purifying our life in a way by removing people in our life that create stress, that create confusion, that create feelings inside of us or thoughts that don't make us feel good. Removing ourselves from negative people, negative situations, drama, conflict, people that are aggressive, confrontational, putting you down, right? We want to stay away from that. So cleaning up the environment. What is our home life like, right? We can kind of take that process with temperance is about balance, the mind, body, and spirit. It's about harmony. It's about balance, moderation. Are we working too much and don't have enough time for sleep? Do we not have enough time for social activities? Are we not getting enough exercise? How's our diet, right? There's a lot of different things that we can do for self-care. And so there's many different ways of purifying the body. We can do some kind of detox. We can fast. We can clean up our diet. We can drink more water. Things that are healthier for us. We can make sure that we're getting enough exercise, right? There's many different ways of you being able to heal the state of the mind, to purify the mind. And that starts, first within the self, but also the environment that we're in. What kind of energy are we surrounding ourselves with? It's also paying attention to your thoughts, being more mindful, to try to shift out of that negative energy. And sometimes it's a pattern, right, that we keep repeating and keep thinking, having this cycle of thoughts over and over again, ruminating thoughts, finding ways of distracting yourself from doing that. Okay? Now, that's not simply like ignoring pain or ignoring, something that your body's trying to tell you, but it's more or less if you find that you are a person who overthinks, that you are mindful and you catch yourself while you're doing it and try to reinforce more positive thoughts, more positive behaviors. We also have retreat here, okay? And retreat can sometimes be just spending some time alone, getting away, going on a little vacation, a holiday, spending the weekend out in the country. Here she just kind of sitting in front of these candles there where she's just kind of taking some time for herself. So maybe we, create a space in our home where we know that when we go into this space that it is safe and that we're going to focus on meditation. We're going to do yoga. We're going to do mindfulness. We're going to do journaling. We're going to do things that where we show self-love, self-care, making that a priority. It's also about tuning into your intuition. Okay, and let's see what about here. Page of Pentacles and the World. The Chariot and the Lovers. Some of you, this might also be shifting your focus away from, and it's not that you're just forgetting what your dream is in terms of love and stuff like that, but Page of Pentacles is about planting the seed. It's about, sometimes it can be about starting a project, Okay, moving forward with a project, something that you love. So it's kind of like shifting the focus back towards yourself instead of kind of staying in a place where we're worrying and stressing, like, when is this going to happen? When is this person going to come into my life? When am I going to find my person? Where we're just kind of obsessing over it. This is more or less about, okay, I'm setting the intention that this is what I want in my life. This is what I'm wanting to call in my beloved, the love of my life. And I'm trusting that this person is going to come into my life in divine timing, and let it go. Focusing your energy elsewhere. Things for you. Okay? Because when you follow your intuition and you start doing things in your life that are more soulful, that are more soul-led, and you align with the highest version of yourself, you are going to align yourself with the partner that is in alignment with you. You know, rather than feeling like we have to start like this endless search of dating and dating and dating and dating and dating and dating and looking and dating and dating, and I can't find them. Where are they? The most important thing that you can do for yourself is aligning your energy and be open to receive. Again, letting yourself receive. And the most important thing that you can do is aligning your vibration to it. If we end up feeling like it's never going to happen, I'm not going to experience it, I'm going to be single forever, and that's where we're focusing all of our energy, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, is on it never happening. It's not going to happen, right? We have to align our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions to that of the love that we seek. Embody that energy. Okay, focus on yourself, focus on your healing, focus on bringing yourself and your life into alignment. Being the best version of you, and everything, when you're in alignment, everything kind of just like you become a magnet. You become a magnet to align with things that align with that vibration. Okay, let's look at this purification here. Knight of Swords. Yeah. The moon has to do with our subconscious. Okay, it creates a lot of fears, a lot of insecurities, a lot of doubt, a lot of uncertainty. The moon also has to do with our intuition. So if there are certain things that your intuition is trying to lead you towards, guide you towards, we need to trust it. That's where you need to shift your focus towards your new beginning. Your new beginning, your spiritually aligned life to align with your counterpart. You can't be out of alignment and expect that your partner's just going to show up while you're in that energy. You need to be in alignment. Okay? That is the most, I feel like, important piece of advice that I could give to this group here, is you align yourself, your mind, your heart, to that of your counterpart, to the love that you desire, and be open to receive it, right? This up here is believing, it's not going to happen. Look at all the stuff that I've gone through. It's not going to happen for me. I'm going to be single forever. I'm never going to have this. I'm never going to have that. That's all the mind, because the subconscious stores a lot of the feelings, the emotions, the thoughts, the belief systems, the conditioning, and it remembers all that stuff, right? Even from your past lives, experiences that you've had. So we're really doing some purifying of the mind here. Sometimes we need a little bit of help with that, because the moon is the subconscious, where we need to kind of dig a little deeper. Sometimes to access those things requires hypnotherapy. It might require you working with a psychotherapist to kind of get to the bottom of things. Okay, especially if the types of situations that you may have had in the past are from your childhood or have been particularly traumatic in nature. And, you know, somebody can help you to sort through those limiting beliefs that you have and kind of pinpoint, okay, this is where this is coming from. This is what has changed our thought. And sometimes, especially for those of you that have been in toxic situations, the way in which those affect us more on a psychological way. And so that requires sometimes therapy. Okay, where we can't do it alone. We need to ask for help, because a lot of this inner work that we're doing is sometimes we just don't have the tools. And we need the expertise of another person who has studied and can provide us with better answers, or to even ask us questions that no one's ever asked us before, that can send us on that path of really deeply reflecting and understanding ourselves on that much of a deeper level. Okay? All right, so I'm going to leave this here for you, group number 3. I do hope this reading was helpful for you guys, and I will see you in the next one.